Okay, can you see me now? And the page? Do you see my page?
Yeah, everything clear.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I made it a bit larger so people can really see it, because somebody today, drew my attention to this. This is, the third, if you like, piece or chapter or small, really, section is called theme. Now, as you can see, it's a small, really, a small section. Really, it's, as we know, theme from the general meaning. So it is the general idea, or the whole idea of something, the main general idea of anything. Whether you talk about a book or a novel or a play or a poem, we say, what is the main theme here? So meaning, what is the main really idea, the main meaning, the main lesson? And this is the question here. So notice here, very briefly, I say the term theme means the main general and serious idea that permeates the whole story, novel, or any book. And of course, as I said, it's very clear, really. So no writer working within the conventions of fiction would think of publishing a piece of fiction whose sole objective is to entertain and excite the reader, although most of the commercially successful writers would do nothing else. I'm saying here that people write something, people write novels, plays, etc., not only for entertainment. I'm saying it's not only for entertainment. Yes, there is a point of entertainment, but it's not only that. In fact, for many people, really, the lesson and the message and the idea and the theme and all this is far more important and even larger than what we think of as entertaining or entertainment. Because sometimes people, yes, there are publishers or books or magazines or whatever, they publish gossip, just really, sometimes we say just rubbish. So we say rubbish because it's valueless. It doesn't have any value. So that's the idea here. I'm saying that people write because they want to convey a message, to want to teach a lesson. And really, this is the idea. So I'm saying here, we are not dealing with writers like these. We are dealing with the more serious writers who appeal to the intelligence of the audience, and writers who have some original visions of life. In other words, I'm saying that people write novels, short stories, poems, plays, etc., because they want to say something. Really, they want to convey and really an important, maybe big lesson. And that's what I'm saying here, appeal or to the intelligence of the audience, meaning the readers, of course. Now, sometimes we say here, people say, well, maybe people not always would like, for example, this novel or that poem or that play, although it has a theme. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it's nothing else, it's something else. So when we say here the positive or negative reactions we feel towards texts we read are the result of their dominant themes. You don't like a book because the subject, for example, the theme is bad. So that's why you don't like it. And you love a book because, again, the same way, because you think the subject is good. So notice here, I'm saying this means that themes stimulate us to ask questions and seek answers, and to think or produce ideas about life. Ideas in fiction are the supreme aim of the novelist, who tries hard really to convince his readers of these ideas. Yeah, because people write something because they want to tell you what I'm saying to you is good, is correct, is, you know, the truth. So you should take it. And, you know, this is the idea. We say a writer may or may not succeed in doing that, but the matter is the same. He has a vision of life and he opens up different perspectives and horizons before his audience and so on. So the idea, I'm saying that any piece of writing, in any piece of writing, there is a message and writers would like to say something. And really this is the idea I'm saying here. A novelist then is a man who has ideas and he wants to communicate them to the rest of humanity. It is that particular idea which we call here theme. That particular message we call theme. And I think it's easy. So I'm saying here, really, ladies and gentlemen, all short stories, or plays, all novels, or all poems, whether short or small, anything, any piece of writing really, really must have, you know, should have a theme or an idea to talk about. So I'm saying here, the subject matter of fiction is human nature and conduct. And the moral lesson of fiction is the lesson given by the writer to his readers. So I'm saying here that the theme is concerned with people, not with things, you know, because we are the people who are going to read. And that's why the effect will be on us. So the moral lesson of fiction is the lesson given by the writer to his readers. You know, this is the idea. The theme, however, is the main idea that permeates a work of fiction. However, like subject matter and moral lesson, the theme is almost never openly stated or alluded to by the writer. I'm saying here, writers don't tell you exactly the theme. They don't say, well, this is my theme. You know, they write the thing, and you as a reader, you have to know this theme from what you read. It's your job to find out this theme and this moral lesson. Really, this is what I'm saying here. Sorry, let me put this off. These ACs are funny. They always make me, especially when I start talking and things, I don't know, I get a bit chilly. Anyway, so this is the idea I'm saying here, that a theme is never stated openly. Writers don't tell you, I'm going to write about marriage, or I'm not going to tell you about the good nature of animals or whatever. You know, they write something, but it's inside. That's why I say here, it is inherent in the story. Inherent means it's hidden, it's inside. In a good novel or story, almost every other element of fiction is subordinated to theme. In other words, everything the writer does in his story, or really the characters that he uses, and the theme, the play, I mean the place, etc., and how many characters and so on. Really, he does this, I'm saying here, to support his message, to support his theme. Almost every move, every exchange, every little development is manipulated to illustrate and expose the theme. Of course, there are cases where I'm saying here greater importance is attached to some other elements, such as character analysis and the idea or the study of human motives and so on. So here I say, in this case, the theme seems to fade away into the background, despite its continual presence. In other words, the theme never dies away, but it remains vividly alive around what is, around what is foregrounded in the story. So that means we have sometimes more emphasis on a character, but it doesn't mean that the character here is far more important than the theme. No, we say that the theme is still around, like you know, when you are in a room and you highlight this corner and that corner, but the other two corners are there. So the idea here is that no matter how much the emphasis will be on a certain character, the theme will be still everywhere in the place. I'm saying here, finally, because the short story is short, there's usually one theme or one central idea advanced by the author. Okay? Can I ask you a question now? Fayyad and other people, can you see the screen, and do you still hear me, girls and boys?
Yes, everything is clear, and we hear you also.
Very good. I'm saying, can you give me an example?
Yes, go ahead.
The theme in the necklace, because you did the necklace last time in the line. What is the main theme in the necklace? Yeah?
I think to be satisfied of your life, no matter how hard or difficult it is.
Yes, very good. Yeah. What else?
I think deceptive appearances.
Deceptive appearances. Yeah. What else? What else? Remember.
Also, not
Yeah.
all what shine is gold.
Sorry?
Not all what is shine is gold.
Yeah, very good. Yes, who's this?
Me.
Well, I don't see the screen now. I don't know who's speaking.
I am Jane.
Who? I didn't hear your name.
Jane. Lujain.
There's a gap between. Anyway, no problem. Thank you very much. Really, the idea I want to say, yes, absolutely. And even sometimes we say that Matilde was wrong, totally wrong, because when you are not rich, you know, meaning don't look so high when you are not high, when you are not rich enough to buy good necklace. Don't borrow it. And I think there's a nice expression in Arabic. I don't know, maybe in Oman, I don't know, what do you say? In Syria we say على قد بساطك مد رجليك. على قد بساطك مد رجليك. What's that in Oman?
It's the same.
Is it?
Same.
Yeah, good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's really the same. Matilde wanted to go beyond her rug. She wants to, you know, and that's, I think, the main theme. That's why she paid miserably and you know, terribly. She lost everything. So this is it, really, the idea here. I'm saying that in a short story, normally we have one main theme because the short story is short. And later on, when we study these short stories later together, ladies and gentlemen, I will show you and I will ask you, what do you think? What is the main theme here? Okay? So I'm saying, but in a novel, there is room for a multitude of ideas. But the major idea which runs through the novel, I say here, it is its theme, whereas other less important ideas which keep emerging here and there in the course of the novel are known as sub-themes or secondary themes, because they are secondary ideas. Okay? Now, if you don't have any question, I will move on to the next section, which is, as you can see, character and action. Questions? Any question?
Doctor, please repeat the last part of theme.
Yeah, I'm saying in every short story, because it's short, it has one main theme, only one main theme. But in a novel, because a novel is so big, we have maybe one big theme, right? But we have other minor or secondary themes, like when we have a big idea and other smaller ideas. You know, that's what I'm saying here, really. So that's why we say the big one we call the main theme, and the smaller ones we call them sub-themes, means secondary. Okay? Got it?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, very good. Now, the next point really is important here. We call it character and action. Character and action. In any novel, any short story, any poem, any play, any piece of writing must be about or spoken by people. So here, character really means the person who is going to act in this short story. Like we have in the story, we have Matilda and her husband, right? And some other minor characters. But you see, we are saying that the story is event. When I said John went to London, and he went to London because his wife went there or ran away there. So here we have the action, which is running away, the thing itself, the event itself, but there are people involved. And the people here, we call them really character and characters. And we say action means is the act, the event itself, because characters do something. We can't have a story by a dead person, because a dead person has to speak, because in a story we need someone to talk. Even as you shall see later on, we say that even stories about animals, we have character animals who, funny enough, who can speak. Although in reality, animals don't speak. Or at least what the animals, or the language of the animals, if you like, we people can't understand it. You know? The only thing here is that writers really here assume and do this because they believe that in any story, in any short story, in any poem, in any play or a novel, you must have characters who can talk like human beings. Like, for example, you did in the Lank Animal Farm, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Animal Farm is spoken by mainly animals. Like in Arabic, we have Kalila wa Dumna, and I think we have all this, all these animation videos, animation films, or these cartoon films, and so on. Because they are written like stories, and because we people need to understand what they say, so that's why we give them, writers give them the quality of speech, give them the quality of language. So that's what I'm saying here, that the question of character means people, action means they do something. either in speaking or in doing, you know. And I will show you this again when we read these short stories. So that's why here I have these two points, which is character and action. Because again, I say characters have to do something. I'm saying you can't have a story by a dead person, or a person who is asleep all the time, or a person who doesn't say anything, or a person who's lying in his bed all the time. You can't have a novel or a short story by a person like that, because that character must jump and do something. Otherwise, that's not a story, that's not a novel, that's not a play. Okay? So that's why here I have these two together, character and action. You cannot really separate them. Really, this is the whole idea I say here. That's why I will read with you this quickly and I will explain it. There is a reason why this title, character and action, is put together as one element of fiction. Generally speaking, there's no character without action, and there's no action without character. When a character does not do any action, it is dead. And when there is something, it needs people to do it. You know? This double or dual element of fiction becomes clear when we think of those cases when animal characters, for example, are given human qualities in order to make them acceptable to readers. You see, so this is what I said already. When a writer writes, he first thinks of the idea, then he begins to think of characters through which to present and expand his theme. Thus, animal characters simply cannot become characters in fiction unless they behave somehow like human beings. This is inevitable for the simple reason that there can be no fiction without expressed or implied speech. This is it. No fiction without language, without speech. Without it, the writer is left with no other material but the description of physical appearance to the external qualities. But as stated above, I say, these alone do not make fiction, for fiction implies action, and action is inseparable from character. You know, this is what I'm saying. You know, action is done by people, and you can't have people who, you know, do nothing. And this is the idea. I say, even those writers who wish to give us characters without action soon discovered that character, even a paralyzed, motionless, deaf and dumb character, necessarily entailed action. I'm saying even those characters, you know, they must do something. For even such a character has to be left with at least one of its senses. The sense of sight, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, etc. can each be sufficient means of creating mental impressions in the character's mind. The very use of any of these senses is in itself action. You understand? I mean, really, you are now all sitting at home, maybe having your lunch or I don't know what, listening to me. Those who are listening, maybe you are just listening, doing nothing, but really in a real sense, what I'm saying here, by just being there and listening, you are doing something. You are having action. Really, this is what I'm saying here. That even characters like this, you know, only with one sense, which is hearing and listening, this is enough to say that this is action. The memories these impressions form, the recalling of such memories or to the character's mind are also action. Thus, a motionless, deaf, dumb, or blind character would still entail a lot of action and some of them are heroes and heroines in many 20th century absurd stories. Really, we have this, and I think a great example of that is a very nice small novel. In fact, it's a novella maybe. It's a novella, which is halfway between novel and short story, by Franz Kafka, the German man, Franz Kafka. He wrote a short, as I said, a novel called Metamorphosis. The Metamorphosis, which means really in Arabic, like we say, al-masakh or at-tahawwul, which is really about a man who wakes up in the morning to find himself a big worm. Can you imagine that? You are sleeping in the evening, a nice man, and he's a good man working in a bank or in a company.
Yes, I have read this.
Sorry?
I said I have read it.
Really?
Yes.
Who's this? Yeah, let me see
Me.
who's speaking. Yeah?
Anfal.
Who?
Anfal.
Yeah, very good. Have you read it in English or in Arabic?
No, in Arabic, unfortunately.
It's okay. What's the title? What's the title?
In Arabic?
Yeah. Do you remember the title?
Al-Masakh.
Huh? Al-Masakh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think? Did you like it?
Yeah,
It's crazy, isn't it?
a bit weird, yes.
Yeah, when you, I don't know, I mean, the translation, I haven't read it, but I read it in English, of course. And I teach this sometimes in my course, World Literature. Really, it's an amazing text. And this is, of course, a character who was a man. In the first few pages, he was a man. But then the rest of the story, he was a worm, like a big worm or an insect. It's really like a worm, but this worm, is still speaking as he was always. Very good. Somebody is translating my language. مد رجليك على قد لحافك. Yes, very good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really, this is the idea I was saying is that even a character like that is still, as you can see, given the quality of speech. So this is the idea I'm saying. So I'm saying the term character must be referred to in the plural, not singular, since a character cannot exist in a text on its own. And because man is inevitably a social being and has to be observed and depicted in a certain social context, so that's why we should say really characters instead of character. So that's why I'm saying here characters then rather than a character perform the action in fiction, no matter how short or brief the work may be. I'm saying here, you can never have one short story with only one character. It's impossible, sometimes very difficult. You will have to have really other people around to help in the action. So I'm saying here the concept of probability, again here I'm talking about how characters are made. I'm saying the concept of probability, feasibility, or realism is very important in drawing characters. meaning when characters are made by writers, they have to think that their characters are realistic. I mean, in reality, this can happen, you know? And that's what we mean by probability. It means this thing is probable, means can happen in reality, meaning realistic, meaning feasible or acceptable. You know, this is the idea. I'm saying this means that a writer has to draw his characters from reality in the sense that they can illustrate or carry out his ideas effectively and without unbelievable attitudes. For example, no reader would be interested in a character that is described to have an extra pair of eyes at the back of his head. Or nor would he believe that there is a character that is capable of walking in the air or on water, you know? I think this only can happen in these crazy films that sometimes you see in Disney films, or, you know, this cartoon thing that characters can walk in the air and people can walk on water, but this is not possible. And people are not able, you know, that's the idea, capable. They are not capable to walk in the air. So real fiction or novels, they have to
Polyud will make it possible.
Sorry?
I said Polyud will make it possible.
Yeah, of course, Hollywood can, yeah, of course. Well, you know, they do it for exaggeration and for money, isn't it? For money, really, for only money. As long as the reader is convinced of the probability of character and action, such exaggeration as we encounter in science fiction, comic tales, and even elective or detective stories remains acceptable within the terms of reference to human endeavor and ambition. I mean, even those in Hollywood, sometimes they do this, and sometimes we accept them because we know that this is exaggeration. We know that they do this only for, you know, for some comical or important reasons. And here I come to another point, which is really important here, the difference between main character and secondary character. Because always in a novel or a short story, we have main character or main characters and secondary characters, always, always. Notice here, we have two main types of characters, main characters and secondary characters, or ones. And this division is true because of the degree of importance given to them by the author. Main characters are the heroes or protagonists of the story. Other characters may again still be called main, but not heroes. In other words, if in a big novel, you may have, you know, you may have 50 characters, you may have 100 characters, and you may have 10 main characters or 15 main characters, but you don't have 15 heroes. You see, this is the idea I'm trying to say here. Not all main characters are heroes, okay? So I'm saying here, main characters are given more and greater attention than the secondary characters. Again, I will show you that when we read the stories. What is even more interesting is that secondary characters are created by the writer only to enlighten the various facets of the main character. You say, why then these secondary characters are made? Well, they are made only to help enlighten the main character, to help to support the action of the main character. That's the idea. That's why we call them secondary. So that's what I'm saying here. A secondary character is only an agent in furthering the action of the story, in helping, although he does not play a large active and direct role in doing so. However, secondary characters are quite indispensable in fiction. Doesn't mean I'm saying we need secondary characters. Yes, they are secondary, but we need them. You understand?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
like, you know, in real life, you can have so many examples like this. You say, well, this is something secondary, I don't really need it much, and so on. But sometimes you say, no, I can't live without it, I need it. You know, this is the idea. So yes, they are not main, but we can't do without them. And this is really the idea I'm saying here. So secondary characters are quite indispensable, meaning you cannot, you know, go without them. Really, this is the question here of indispensable, I think is the word here. There are, they are the means of not only furthering and developing the action, but also providing information about it and serving as contrast to the main characters, and thereby illuminating the various aspects of the main action or the main character, their action and thoughts and so on. So this is an important point here to differentiate between main character and secondary character, or, you know, the hero and heroes and heroine and main characters and so on. Really, this is a quite interesting thing to understand here. So here I conclude this section by talking about action, which is, as you can see here, action is the embodiment, and I think I said it to you already, I explained it, but I'll read it quickly because you know, it should be clearer. Action is the real embodiment of a character's personality with its reasons and whims that decide its behavior. In other words, characters somehow decide the action in the same dialectical way that action gives or itself gives life to them. That's why we emphasize that neither of them can exist independently of the other. For action implies performance and vivid happiness. You know, I think I said that. If action consists of a series of events only, or of mere factual statements, it means it only conveys some kind of information. That does not make life or fiction. You know, information is not enough. Action, therefore, has to have characters or people to do them, to perform it. Characters are indeed like real people with flesh and blood, and with a lot of action, and with a lot of feeling, emotion, vitality, you know, like us, really. That's why when we read them, or when you watch a play, when you read a novel, sometimes you cry because you say, come on, you know, this could happen to me. And really, that's the idea, because you identify yourself with that character, you know, and that's what we mean here, that characters are like us, you know, with real, absolutely real feelings. I'm sorry, I have to go and put off that AC, the second one. They are really very noisy as well. They are noisy. Yeah. Yes. Are you following, ladies and gentlemen? Hello?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes.
Did you have your dinner or lunches?
No.
Really? Why not? You are still hungry. Yeah, well, okay. Again, here I come to the next point, which is again to say about, like what I said in plot. Notice, to make action plausible and acceptable, the writer prepares his readers through a process of familiarization of the context of the story. This is what I said to you last time about, you know, the introduction, or what I said, the antecedent, which is the preparation of the events. And then to go up, I said, antecedent, and then I said rising action, and I said crisis, and then climax, and then the action will fall. This idea here that the writer really always prepares us in this to make us know what's going on. So in this little introduction, we call it here, as I said, antecedent, and the word anti really means before, and cedent, which is the action, means before the real action. Okay, notice I say he gives justification for and enough information about the action to the reader. So the reader would go on to find what happens next. This information is usually referred to as the antecedent of action. This is it here. I'm repeating what I said last time. Antecedent of action. Its function is to make whatever possible move taken by any one of the characters acceptable in terms of the context of the particular work of fiction. We are not expected to believe something which is not really believable or logically acceptable. So that's why we say the antecedent of action here really is what makes a character, or what makes really the whole thing acceptable, and that's what I'm saying here, makes a certain move acceptable. The absence of such antecedent makes the actual melodrama, or even the action itself would seem very melodramatic. When we say melodramatic, means wow, very, very imaginative, and sometimes you say, oh, I can't believe that. I would never believe that, So that's why here we have to make the reader really convinced, and make the reader agree with us and accept what we are saying. To say, oh yeah, this is possible. Yeah, this is probable. Yeah, this happens to us. Yeah, we have something like this in our life, and so on. So this is what we call here really the introduction. As I said, I call it the antecedent. And like as I said in the plot, we have the same thing here in action. In a plot, we set exposition or antecedent, and then we go up in the rising action, as I said, and then the complication and the climax and so on. Right? I said that to you before, and this is what really I'm repeating the same thing here. Maybe if I will read it quickly for you, maybe to draw your attention again. Notice, as in plot, action follows a certain development pattern. It begins with the initial introduction of character and sense and their interrelation. And this is called exposition. When the writer deploys or develops further or moves ahead, it is described as rising action. This is followed by another phase, which is called complication. And when the events and characters get more tense and more problematic, this also leads to the crisis and a real rising problem which has to be solved. But before the solution, there is the highest boiling moment, and it's called the climax. The climax. The falling of the climax, or the result, is called the resolution, or the ending, really, or the decline of the action, or the denouement, the falling down. The denouement, as it's often termed, because this is the phrase they use for in criticism sometimes. So the denouement, furthermore, takes another form in some works of fiction, when the action rises again in a sort of circular way, when a sudden change of events takes place, which may be contrary to our expectations. As I think I said that to you, like in many Indian, Turkish, Egyptian, I don't know, Mexican films, that's what they do. They always go on and on in a circle and circles. because they want to sell. You know, this is the idea. This type of late changing constitutes what is termed anticlimax, because it's contrary to all that the action has been leading up to. You know, when you are expecting something and then something really strange happened and you have more and more and more action, you say, oh, come on, when are you going to finish? You know? And I think this is the idea, what we call anti-climax, which is, you know, unusual sort of twisting. So that's what we mean by character and action. Any question? Huh?
Yes, doctor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that mean in writing novels and stories, the imagination is something not acceptable?
No, 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 no. Everything you do in your novel is imagination.
So,
listen to me. Wait a minute. All your novel, if you are writing a novel about Oman and you have a character called Faisal and you have a character called Susan, these characters from your mind, from your imagination. And this is what I mean. But Faisal and Susan are like people here in this class, for example. And Faisal and Susan could be like your sister and brother. You understand? So you give Faisal and Susan qualities and characteristics from your mind, but you give them these qualities from real life. But the action, all what Faisal does, all what Faisal and Susan, all what they do is purely from your mind, purely from your imagination. You understand?
yes, but I mean when they say that, for example, if they walk on the water or fly or they have more than 2 eyes, I think it's acceptable.
No, no, no. No, no, it's not acceptable because people would laugh at you unless you are writing science fiction. Are you a science fiction writer? You understand? If you are writing science fiction, yes, we accept people with 4 eyes and we accept people with 4 hands or with people with eyes in the back of their heads. Huh? Or people with no noses. Can you believe it? Well, exactly. This is what I mean. For example, the characters in Harry Potter, some of the characters in Harry Potter, really, they are terrible. You understand? But we see, we accept them because it's Harry Potter and because it's science fiction. Because
Like Voldemort
sorry?
with no nose. I said like Voldemort with no nose.
Well, yeah, because they are funny. I don't know them really. I've seen some of it and I hated it. And, you know, I think it's total rubbish. But anyway, the idea here is, yes, we are saying imagination means to be, the whole creation will be done from your own mind. But of course, the characters and the events and the action and so on would be acceptable. You have Susan would be going to London, or Susan flying to China, and Susan marrying a Japanese man, or Susan marrying whatever, and Susan having 10 children or whatever. You know, all these qualities are human qualities, so we accept them. And this is what I mean. Yeah, any other question? Questions? Okay. Now, the next, I will do the next one. I don't know if I can do some of it. No problem. I think we still have nearly 20 minutes, even more than 20 minutes. Now, notice here the word characterization. You know, I gave this one whole chapter to say, well, it's not really me, mainly people. As I said to you before at the beginning of this course, really many people who wrote about fiction, they did the same thing. So really characterization means how we make characters. Really very simple. How characters are made. How do you make Susan and Faisal? Do you make them speak Arabic, or do you make them speak French, for example? Do you make Faisal a slim man, or a big man, or a hairy man, or how does he look? You know? So the question here, I say, his voice, his speech, his action, whether he's nice, he's bad, he's ugly, he's attractive, all these things, and you give him a name. You said Faisal, or you said Susan. So why did you change? Why did you say Susan? You understand? So here, all this, because characters, later on, I will show you, characters are given names. Sometimes names are given for some reason. So even naming people, even naming them, is part of the creation of the character. So all
Like
this,
Napoleon in animal form.
yeah, of course. Somebody is saying to me, I don't know, is he with us? Yeah, he's with us. Yeah, Hamza Sayyid, where is it? Good afternoon, Dr. Mahmoud. I have really bad internet connection and I can't access to the lecture. Well, I don't know. I'm sorry, Hamza. I know, I mean, this is possible. Yeah, I know, this is internet. Okay, so to go back to where I was, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, again he said, I can't hear you or see anything. Well, yeah, Hamza, I can't hear or see anything. Besides, this is what is written. What's this? Yeah. Well, I should say to him, okay. Yeah, I mean, I know this is sometimes the situation in internet. Anyway, so that's why here I give briefly. I say, notice, characterization seems very close or even the same as character, but I say, but it is not. So characterization is not the same as character, because character is the person, whereas characterization is the making of the person. This is the idea. So characterization is the art of individualizing a character in fiction. Notice here, a character in fiction. And again, I say individualizing, meaning to give him or her all these qualities, really everything. I'm saying this means giving each and every character certain attributes or qualities that will make them distinguishable from one another. This process of individualization simply begins by assigning each character a name, which will automatically differentiate it from the rest. This may seem simple, but characterization is really a much more delicate, demanding, and complex operation. The act of developing and making characters, different individuals, is very much connected and determined by the numerous requirements of plot, character analysis, and the development of the action. So I'm saying it's not really easy to characterize a person. You can't just throw at this person certain qualities, you know. These qualities have to be in line with the plot, in line with the theme, in line with other characters, in line with society, in line with so many other things. And that's why here we say characterization is not easy. It's really a process, complicated process, to make people look like when we said, for example, you know, as we shall see, like, you know, Matilda in the Necklace is a special kind of woman. We can differentiate her from all women, maybe if we see her. And this is the idea we are saying here about, you know, the process of making a certain character, you know, what she is or what he is. So giving a character a name is the first important factor of individualization. So the first thing, you give him a name, or you give her a name. The second step of characterization involves whatever else the writer may choose to tell us or show us about that character, which would later formulate his particular portrait in the reader's imagination. I'm saying first you give a character a name, and then step by step you start to tell us more about him or her. How? Through the other characters maybe. How? Through the narrator. How? We will wait and see what other people say. And there are so many ways in which we characterize a character. You know, for example, as I will show you later on, actually I can show you now because it's important that maybe you should know something. Yeah, maybe this one a good idea. You see the narrator, for example, here in this Flannery O'Connor, A Good Man is Hard to Find. Notice the narrator says, the grandmother did not want to go to Florida. She wanted to visit some of her connections in East Tennessee, and she was seizing every chance to change Bailey's mind. Bailey was the son she lived with, her only boy. He was sitting on the edge of his chair at the table, bent over the orange sports section of the journal. Now look here, Bailey, she said. Now, you see this piece of information here, the first 3 lines, you know, is given by the narrator telling us about a woman, a grandmother, telling us beforehand, the first thing we know, we started to take an idea, to guess an idea about this old woman without seeing her. So we are given information, we are introduced to this woman, later on the grandmother in the story, and we know her well ahead before we meet her, for example, in real sense, that is in the narrative. Really, that's what I mean here in this situation, I think. And now if I go back to where I was, God knows where I was. Yeah, I think here, yeah, where? Yeah, yes. Yeah, so I'm saying, first you give a character a name, okay? I say the second step of characterization involves whatever else the writer may choose to tell us or show us about that character, which would later formulate the particular portrait in the reader's imagination. This level of individualization is the level of moral, mental, inner, or psychological level, which is different from that of the family name or the description of external appearances. So you see, the idea here, we are not only given information about that character or by that character or by, you know, someone speaking more in details about the other character and so on. So sometimes you get good enough information without actually seeing that character in a real sense, as you say here, description of external appearance. It is the level which deals with the social background, with past or present, or even the description of its relation to other characters. Well, yes, you know, in this way here we see how the social background, as you can see, the present situation or the past or present occupation and so on. So really this is, if you like, the first early moments of what we call characterization. All these factors or pieces of information will help from individualize a character a little further and will move him into a lighter level of characterization, both in the context of the story and the reader's mind. Well, we don't expect people sometimes really to always behave like this. So what I'm saying here is that when we said all this, you know, bits and pieces about the individualizing a character, you know, it sometimes is really very difficult. But the information, at least here, the information is given by the reader in his mind about that character, maybe is enough to say or to talk about really characterization. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I will stop here because this is still a lot of ideas, and I will do that next time. I think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, we have not really finished, you know, page here in my book, page 9. I will we'll go back next time to finish characterization. If you don't have, or I should say, if you have any question, please please ask me now. I still have about 10 minutes. I will take the attendance and then you know, I will ask whoever wants to say anything, then no problem.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the theme,
Yeah.
do we have to express the theme in one word, or we can use a phrase or a sentence?
Well, if you can, yeah, well, yeah, really both acceptable, really. A theme can be a little phrase, can be one sentence, can be very tiny, 2 words or 3 words, or 1 word. Yeah, 1 word will be acceptable. Okay, but not a full sentence. You know, sometimes themes are not expressed in full sentences, not in full sentence. Okay, maybe a part, a phrase, 1 section, yes, but not completely full sentence. And again, it depends how you really think about it. And people say, yes, we can do that. I mean, there's no way that there are people who will, you know, specify and judge about this, whether this is absolutely correct or wrong. Okay, so yeah, any more questions?